Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name Nurma Arina Fitroh with student number 26. Here I will explain about modes and types of interpreting. The first one is modes of interpreting. There are four kinds of modes in interpreting. The first one is consecutive. The next one is simultaneous. The next one is whisper, and last, sight interpreting. The first one, consecutive interpreting. In consecutive interpreting, the interpreter starts speaking. Translate the source text orally. After the speaker finishes speaking, the speaker usually divides his or her utterances into some phase and give time for the interpreter to translate his or her words consecutively. The interpreter is usually visible, or we can say the listeners may recognize his or her presence in the meeting. A consecutive interpreter must convey a full rendition of the source text. As there are pauses in consecutive interpreting, it is considered time consuming, and thus it is usually conducted for small meeting. The next one is the simultaneous interpreters. The simultaneous do not speak directly to the listeners, but they speak into a microphone. According to Phelan, 2001 states, for this reason, simultaneous interpreting is usually conducted in team, usually in a group of two. The third one is whisper interpreting. Whisper interpreting is a form of simultaneous interpreting which is usually asked for a small group meeting. The interpreter does not actually whisper to the listeners, as it will be difficult to hear the whisper, unless the whisper interpreter sits or stands near to the listeners and translates the source text in a low voice. The next one is sight interpreting. Generally, interpreting activity involves the activities of listening and speaking. However, sight interpreting comprises reading and speaking. Sight interpreter is asked to read a document and then translate it aloud. This type of interpreting may occur in various settings, for example, in a business meeting or in a court. Next, we move to types of interpreting. There are a lot of types of interpreting. There are conference interpreting, escort interpreting, bilateral interpreting, telephone interpreting, television interpreting, video conference, community, court, and the last one is medical interpreting. Types of interpreting refers to the context of the activities, including the media and the place. Conference interpreting. The first one, interpreting, is used at a meeting or a conference where the participant speaks different languages. Conference interpreting can be conducted using consecutive or simultaneous interpreting. Nowadays, as the conference can be very large, this type of interpreting usually uses simultaneous interpreting in order to create a more effective agenda. Next, we move to escort interpreting. Escort interpreting is a type of a consecutive interpreting which is usually used for a small informal setting. The escort interpreter must also act as the client's assistant who helps the client's needs during the trip. Escort interpreters may include sightseeing tours, guide visits, business travel, and international fairs. Next, bilateral interpreting. The interpreter translates two parties or more in two languages. In other words, the interpreter acts as a mediator who translate each participant's speech, and this must switch from one language into other. This type of interpreting is used in informal situations, for example in business meeting or in community interpreting. According to Velan, 2001. Next, telephone interpreting. Telephone interpreting is actually a bilateral interpreting which uses telephone as the media. Telephone interpreting is very advantageous for emergency needs. Next, television interpreting. Television interpreting is a common type of interpreting in mainland Europe. In TV program, which is recorded inside the studio, the interpreter sits in a booth where he or she is able to see the speaker. Equipment are provided inside the booth. Meanwhile, if the program is recorded outside the studio, the interpreter sits and watches the speaker through a monitor. Next, video conference interpreting. Video conference interpreting makes use of internet technology. This remote interpreting activity enables participants to have an online face-to-face meeting. Next, community interpreting. Community interpreting takes place in community-based setting situation. These include education, housing, legal, social security, and police. Medical and court interpreting are usually included in community interpreting. Some believe that medical and court are separated branches of interpreting. Next, court interpreting. Court interpreting usually works with lawyers, witnesses, and defendants. The most important role of a court interpreter is that he or she must be the neutral party. There is a common rule for any court interpreters around the world that they cannot add or omit words which may change the meaning of the original source. Next, medical interpreting. Medical interpreters must have the background of professional interpreter and masters the medical terms. Medical interpreting is necessary in medical fields regarding the patient's health condition. The doctor needs the help of the medical interpreter to deliver the diagnosis, the medical record, as well as the correct treatment. Thank you for the attention. I want to apologize if there are any mistake. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.